Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video we've got some info on summoning events kicking off over the weekend. So this will tie into this Summon Rush event, which starts tomorrow. You also get bonus points, 150% more event points than usual for summoning from Ancient Shards. So this will make blue shards a little bit better. And there is a decent chance that this is going to be the first big event to tie into the Yuletide Titan event, right? It's not shown up in game yet, but I think it does start tomorrow. So I'd imagine they probably will overlap. There's a decent chance you get Titan points for this. Let's take a look at the summoning event. So on Friday, the 1st of December, it's a progressive chance event starting from an X15 going up to then X20, X25 for Ancients, Primal Sacreds, and Void Shards. So in the first slot, which is your legendary champions from Ancients, Primals, and Sacreds, we've got a good batch here. Valkyrie, Ultimate Death Knight, Archbishop Penroy, Borgar, King Galbar, and Helicath. Okay, let's start from the weaker ones. I think Borgar is probably the least appealing. I'd probably put Borgar in last place. This guy, he comes in increased resistance and speed for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. A little bit of a cleanse with a shield on a 3-turn. And put out some increased defense. Yeah. He's sort of interesting as an increased resistance champion, but he's just nowhere near as good as champions like Oella, who was a previous fusion. If you've got her, I think she's a million times better than Borgar. So let's get up a thing here. I put Borgar in what, 6th? Borgar, probably in 6th place, okay? Next up then, let me see. Probably King Galbar. Now, he might actually be pretty good. For whatever this new content is going to be, right? This city of Sinatros or whatever it is. He might be good there, right? He comes in with a cleanse, with a big shield. That's a really good move. He has a full buff strip that puts out poisons for buffs. So if he strips off buffs, he replaces them with poison. When he strips off debuffs from you, he replaces them with continuous heal. And then he can activate poisons and continuous heal a bit with his passive. It's an interesting skill kit. He has not really been very useful anywhere in the game, though, I would say particularly. But maybe the city of Sinatros or whatever it's called is going to be where he shines. I'd probably put him next. I think after that, probably be Archbishop Penroy. I'd put up next. I like this champion a lot. He's a previous guaranteed. He comes in, he's got block buffs with increased accuracy for the team, heal reduction as well. Some of these champs cannot resist these debuffs. Again, that might come into use in the city. You would sort of think this might be decent for arena, but it's not that helpful. He's got a big heal with a big shield and increased defense on a 4-turn. He's got some debuff transfers and stealing buffs here. Passive's okay. He's just a great Hydra champion, right? Sort of his main problem, honestly, with Hydra, unfortunately, is that Spirit Affinity block buffs just doesn't end up being quite that good, right? Just the way they made the affinities of the heads in the Hydra rotations. Like, Ugo ends up being kind of better than Penroy most of the time, just because Ugo is better. The magic affinity is just better for most rotations. There's like one rotation, I think, where Penroy is potentially better. But he's still useful, right? But I'd still be putting him in 4th place. I'd value him more than these other two. But yeah. Then we come into, I think the top 3 are quite good here. And this becomes very difficult to rank. Valkyrie, Ultimate Death Knight, and Helicath. Ooh. Let's imagine you don't have any of them. If you do not have any, I probably would put Ultimate Death Knight as number 3, I think. He's great for arena. So Ultimate Death Knight, he's particularly good for arena. But that's about it. He's sort of an arena-focused champion, I would say. He's particularly good because he can redirect single target hits. You put him really slow in Stone Skin, and it makes him a very, very strong counter for single target damage either. So, I mean, the big one would be Rotus, the Lost Groom. He's particularly strong against Rotus, which is very valuable. And he's just a great, champ for building an annoying defense in arena. I don't think you need it, though, and I think there's other champions that do somewhat similar stuff. He's obviously amazing to have, again, particularly against single target. But yeah, I think you don't use them massively outside of arena, whereas I think these other 2 champs do come in. Valkyrie and Helicath. I think this depends on whether you're early game or late game. I'm actually going to put Valkyrie. I think I'm going to put it like this overall. in terms of how good I would rate them. I think Valkyrie is very strong for. She's quite decent for Hydra. She's decent for Arena. And then she's exceptionally good for Hard Fire Knight, which is very valuable late game because that's such a difficult dungeon to farm. She makes it so much easier because it's a massive shield for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown with counterattack. Her passive's great for Arena. Yeah, she's simple, but she's very, very effective at counterattack. She is still the best counterattack champion in the game. For team counterattack, that has never been usurped. And yeah, I think, for going into Hard Fire Knight, that's a very useful thing to do. It opens up some team comp. So I'd put her probably second place over Ultimate Death Knight because of that. I do think if you had none of them, Helicath would be the most useful overall. I mean, that being said, I have a Helicath. I don't use him a ton, but he is very strong in Arena, right? Because of his block damage, that's very, very good in Arena. And he's got a big shield as well. He's extremely good for anywhere where you want to use Unkillable. So Clan Boss, Iron Twins, etc. Probably a bunch of Doom Tower bosses. Like, it's one of those things where he's one of the best fusions of all time, but, sort of like Brogni for me in a sense. Like, when you're super endgame, that they might not be super useful, right? You might just be like, oh, well, I've already beaten all of that stuff. So yeah, they're ridiculously good, but I don't super need them. So like for me personally, I would be obviously putting Valkyrie number 1 because I actually have Helicath. I've got Ultimate Death Knight, Penroy, and Galbar, right? I'm just missing Borgar and Valkyrie is obviously better than him. So I definitely be putting Valkyrie number 1. I think you can't really go wrong with either of these 3. I think any of these 3, if they would really help your account, they would be the right pick. So any of those. Epics, Duodan or Miscreated Monster. I think Miscreated Monster is probably going to be much better. Duodan the Runic, he's not bad, right? He's a fun champ. He has Taunt for 1 turn on a 3-turn that puts Strengthen and Counterattack. His A1's quite good because it has a chance to remove debuff 60% when booked, otherwise 50%, of removing a debuff from all allies. So that's quite good with the counterattack, right? He's sort of pumping out fairly continuous cleanses. And then he's got an AoE attack that puts a shield on and increases ally buff duration. Unfortunately, this is on a 4-turn cooldown. If this was a 3-turn, he'd be a lot better. But yeah, he's a good champ, but it is just 1-turn taunt, and this is a 4-turn cooldown. He's good. I think Miscreated Monster is better overall. I actually never pulled him. Just never pulled him. Never happened. Never got Miscreated Monster. But I think for the city of Centranos, I expect Miscreated Monster could be a really good budget helper, right? 3-turn cooldown AoE stun that puts out a shield on allies. He's got ally protection, heals himself. He can stun on his A1 or put decreased defense. He can put out fears as well. HP in Arena. Early game, he's an amazing carry champion. I guess he's probably not as useful in the game anymore because there's so many good champions now. But I still think he's going to be a nice help potentially for some of those City of Centranos waves. So I would consider him to be better. I think I don't have either of them, and I picked Miscreated Monster. For Voids, ooh, this is spicy. Sufurion or Warlord? This really depends what your priority is. Warlord is exceptional, I think, even for a lot of Doom Tower waves, and he's exceptional in Arena, right? Warlord is really all about Orcus rituals. 4-turn cooldown, AoE, put target skills on cooldown, 100% chance, and then a big, like 60% chance when booked to fully deplete their turn meter as well. This completely wrecks Duchess. I think that's the big difference between Warlord and Yumiko, is Yumiko locks them out for 3 turns. Warlord fully locks them out. So against someone like a Duchess Lilitu who has long cooldowns, potentially against a Sifi who's got longer cooldowns, fully locking out their skills and depleting their turn meter, you can actually sort of chain this together, particularly against Duchess. Sifis tend to be extremely fast. Duchess doesn't tend to be insanely fast. So you can sort of just stop her from ever reviving or doing any of her stuff, which is much more difficult with a Yumiko. So that's really strong. That's obviously really strong for any wave-based content. He's got a heal as well with a mini block debuffs for 1 turn. With a heal and a shield. His A1, it's okay. Yeah, he's really all about Orcish rituals, but this move is quite good. He's a very strong pick. I think Sufurion is very good as well. I'd actually have a tough time picking between them. I might even pick Sufurion myself, honestly, because he's more of a Hydra-focused champ, right? He has an AoE burn for 3 turns that instantly activates it and puts a shield on your team. Like, this move is insane. You think about how good Artak is, right? Artak, he's got 1 move that puts out burn. His A1 is a chance to extend it, and his A2 explodes it. Sufurion basically does Artak's A1, 2, and 3 all in one move with no possibility of weak hits because it's not even an attack. And he also gives you a massive shield. On top of that, he has an AoE revive with an extra turn. His A1 fills his turn meter and potentially his team as well. And then his passive does a whole bunch of stuff. Filling turn meter when burns go off. Healing allies whenever burns go off. Putting decreased resistance on the enemy. Getting turn meter. Increasing his speed. He's got HP in all battles aura. I think this champion is actually nuts, right? He is so good. He's really strong. He might be really strong again for the City of Sintrano stuff as well, quite potentially. But I think he's top tier for Hydra. He can also be actually pretty decent in Arena, right? This move will just destroy all Stone Skin if he places burns on everyone, which is hilarious. You can check out my little showcase of him on the test server if you want to see that. But it was very strong. Personally, I would actually probably go Sufurion over Warlord. But I've got Yumiko already. If I did not have any lockout, if I was more concerned about Arena, I'd go Warlord. I think Sufurion better elsewhere. Just because I'm Hydra biased, I'd pick Sufurion. I will be picking Sufurion. I don't know if I'm going to pull any voids, but I'll pick Sufurion. Then Scax and Ethen. Both not amazing. Scax, he's an okay cleanser, right? Cleanse, block debuffs, and a shield on a 4-turn. It's okay. He can do one random buff steal. It's not amazing. Decreased speed A1. I'm not really a big fan of Scax. I know some people like him. He's okay. Not exceptional. He's okay. Ethen the Golden, I think, has more potential. He's a void damage dealer. So if you're earlier in the game and you are going to pull shards, he could actually be quite good. He buffs himself up with an extra turn. And then he comes in and he does a double smack. And he can put block active skills and true fear, which is, I guess either or. It's pretty good though, right? He can ignore defense as well, a little bit. Not a ton, but a little bit. So I think he does hit pretty hard. Like late game, he's really not going to see any play. But I think as an early game, mid game, even nuker, I think he's actually quite good, right? He's got good debuffs. That's going to be very strong, especially when you're not fighting enemies with Stone Skin. He's going to hit hard. He's void. Be one of the better void nukers early game, honestly. And then he falls off pretty hard when you're going up against Stone Skin and Polymorph and people with resistance and stuff like that, and just better damage dealers. But yeah, I think he's probably better than Scax, I would think. And there you go. Those are the events. The event's going to be up for 72 hours. It is progressive chance. Like, if you're close to Mercy, like Sufurion or Warlord, they're both reasonable ones to go for with progressive chance, like a 15x for Sufurion or Warlord. Close to Mercy, it makes sense. Again, picking one of these, I think a 15x for Valkyrie, Death Knight, or Helicath, if you really want one of them. Again, that makes sense. So they're decent progressive chance events. It's nice to see the Ancient Shards are going to be somewhat useful because of this Summon Rush. So that's cool. Yeah, look, if this is part of that Christmas, the Yuletide Titan event, this might be something you need to pull some shards for. I'll see that tomorrow. When this goes live tomorrow, I'll dive in and I'll be pulling my shards if I have to. I'd probably personally go for Ancients for this. That being said, I think we're expecting 2x Ancients next weekend, and that might tie in to this Yuletide Titan event as well. Might tie into the next fusion even. It's hard to know. But then again, they've been mixing up the weekends on the 2x events. They've really been making them very unpredictable, which is something they didn't used to do. So man, it's hard to know. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Let me know. What do you think about this? Are you going to pull for it? Does it depend on the Titan event or not for you? I'm definitely curious. Let me know, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.